All right, everybody, welcome back to Clicks and Bricks. My name is Ken, and this is Brian. Today we're talking, what are we talking about today?
The benefits of moving to the private cloud.
Moving to a private cloud, specifically private cloud, is what we're talking about today.
Moving to the cloud.
Moving to the cloud.
To
So
the cloud.
regardless of what kind of cloud it is,
Right.
moving to the cloud, public cloud, private cloud,
Yes.
or hybrid cloud, hyperscale cloud,
We're going to talk about all that stuff.
all that stuff. And I think we're going to make an attempt to define what cloud means.
I didn't look at the questions yet.
Okay.
But I have a feeling someone's going to ask some kind of question about what's the difference.
Right.
Let me
Okay.
double check. First question is about it.
All right. So before we do that, if you want to text me and join my text line community, 314-370-2871 is my text message number. You can text that message anytime. I will not try to sell you anything on that text message line. I will just communicate positivity, some memes here and there, tips and tricks on business and web hosting and technology.
There we go. And my text line is 314-216-2040. The things to text me would be questions that you wanna ask about a topic that we've already discovered, right? Or if there's another topic that you want to talk about, text those to me as well. All right? Or you have any other question that we haven't discussed yet, ask me. I got you. We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. All right? So before we dive into moving over to the cloud and what that looks like for your business, we have to do our Between the Cubicles, which is sponsored by nlink.com.
Yes.
nlink.com is the place where professionals share all of your social media outlets, right? Really simple, really easy, and here's the best part. It's free. Go check it out, nlink.com, all right? So, Between the Cubicles today, we are going to talk about brand new movie coming out, HBO Max, Godzilla vs. King Kong, comes out in one more day.
And it's straight to HBO Max.
Yes.
Fantastic. Awesome. So Godzilla versus Kong.
Yes.
And this is the
newest version of it.
Do we know when the new Kong movie came out?
I don't know when the new Kong one. I can try to look that. Or let's have the producers
What
out
year?
there help us out.
2017. Wasn't that long ago. It was really good. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Did you see that movie?
I didn't. No, I did see that one. I didn't
Yeah.
see the Godzillas.
I have not seen the Godzillas either.
I haven't seen that since like 2000.
Godzilla's. I've never been a Godzilla fan.
Me neither. I can't relate to him. I mean, I can relate to the King Kongs. I'm like, they just didn't understand him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I loved the movies growing up. They were always growing up in the late 70s, early 80s. Kong and Godzilla was on the TV about once a month, right? Because there wasn't a whole lot of movies out then that were available to watch on TV, and there was only a couple channels that we could really had.
Right. You have four
Really
channels.
had. So it was on quite a bit in the background. I don't think I really appreciated it as a kid. But when Kong came out, I know that I did really like that movie. It's been a while since I've seen it though. I'll probably watch the Kong versus Godzilla in the next couple of days. But I think that'll force me to go back, watch this 2017 Kong and the two Godzilla movies.
I'm trying to stop myself from binge watching all of them, so I'll be ready for the new one. Right.
Yeah, but just talking with Nick pre this, the two Godzilla movies have some implications and context on this one. So I think it's important to know that if you're not going to watch the Godzilla movies and you go into Kong, that Godzilla in the first two movies since
the last two movies
since this new series, Godzilla was a good guy.
Which is
he helped mankind.
Exactly, which is that has not been his MO.
Right. So, and in this movie, he's
Attacking.
and they bring Kong in. The trailer looks
awesome,
amazing. Right?
Yeah, it really does.
It's fantastic. So
I can't wait to see it. One of my buddies posted online how they wanted to have like a private party where we have like 10, 15 people. Only a few people replied. Super disappointing.
So how much? So he wanted to do a private theater, right?
Yes.
So what is that about?
So I didn't really know that's even an option in St. Louis, really.
Okay.
But basically, it holds 50 people.
Yeah.
And it is $150 for the whole thing.
Pay $150.
Right.
And you got a private theater.
Right. And
to watch any movie that's currently out.
Yeah.
Is that the new model that movie theaters are going to go to? Is that an AMC model?
It is AMC, so it could be. I'm not really sure. There's a lot of things kind of up in the air in the movie theater industry because of HBO Max going live there. But I just thought, I'm like, man, if we can get 10 people, $15 a head, I'd pay that anyway to see the movie.
So watch parties are pretty nice, right?
Watch party could be pretty awesome, dude.
Yeah,
so I have to give it up
$150. I mean, you're talking about 3 couples.
Exactly.
$25 each.
Exactly. 10
right?
people, man. 10 people.
Yeah.
Right. So I haven't completely killed the idea of it because I think it would be really awesome, especially for a movie like this. I would much rather see this in a movie theater than my house, even though my surround sound is nice. I got a 75-inch TV. It works. It works. But movie theater.
What day is he doing that?
Friday.
Friday night.
Friday night.
I have to talk to the wife.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. I like that. That sounds like fun.
It'd be a lot of fun,
Yeah.
dude. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Awesome.
So.
All right. Well, moving right along between the cubes. Actually, I think we kept it in our time frame this week.
I think. We have one final thing. Who do you think's gonna win?
Oh, I'm Kong all the way.
I'm Kong too.
Yeah. I mean, I think I've always been a bigger Kong fan than Godzilla.
Me too.
Without question. So,
yes. Hands down.
And I don't know why.
I think for me is that I always felt, like I said earlier, Kong was misunderstood, man.
Well, I've always been like Hulk is my favorite Marvel character, Sony character, whoever Hulk belongs to right now, right?
He's very Kong-like.
He's very Kong-like. Yeah, that aggression and
blows up, but that girl keeps him calm.
Yeah, I mean, I have that in my life too, right? Like that girl that keeps me calm. So maybe that's why I relate to those two so much.
Like, that's me.
But you know, I've had dogs, and my favorite pet's my snake. So I definitely
like reptiles.
I do like reptiles, but I've just never.
Maybe if your reptiles shot fire out of their mouth, maybe you was.
Well, I think I like reptiles just because they're pretty to look at and the way they move, right? So
interesting.
But yeah, I don't have a relationship with my snake like I do with my dog. I mean, my relationship with my dog isn't the greatest.
It's not, dude. It's not at all.
I don't have any kind of relationship with my snake at all. He just kind of lives inside this tank, and he's pretty to look at. So maybe that's why I relate to Kong way more than Godzilla.
Because he just feels like a misunderstood person, man.
If people, I feel like it's probably common, right, that people relate to Kong more than Godzilla, but there's only one Kong movie and 2 Godzilla movies.
I mean, there's
in this series.
Yes, in this series, yes.
And now there's gonna be 3 Godzilla movies and 2 Kongs. So
that's
he's
sad.
still outranking him as far as production time, I guess.
I mean, I guess all Kongs matter.
I think it'd be interesting to know if I'm gonna pass that. You know, if the masses, if people, and I guess this would tell you by ticket sales, did Godzilla movies do better than Kong movies? And I don't know.
I don't know. That's a good question.
In ticket sales, do we know, Nick? Godzilla's more popular than Kong, so we're the minority there.
Wow. Is it just more
I would not
popular?
have guessed that.
I wonder if it's anything to do with like location, because in Asia, I bet it's super popular.
Yeah, I mean, Americans aren't that big of a portion of the total population.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
But I hate watching foreign films that are subtitled.
Yes.
I'm assuming that other countries hate watching English movies that are subtitled.
That's a good question too, man.
I mean, I know that English is prominent across the globe now, but I mean, if it's not your first language, do you really want to watch a movie that's not your first language?
The only one I even entertained it wasn't a movie; it was a TV series, Narco.
Oh, I couldn't stand it.
It was rough.
Yeah, it's too bad.
So I read too slow.
So
I have to go back.
I don't like reading my TV. I need a little bit of turning my brain off.
Exactly.
At that point.
I want to just digress at this point.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there.
Okay.
All right. Now we're gonna close that.
Yeah, so we'll move on, and we're still over. So
we're so close.
Yeah.
All right. So first question here. Again, we are talking about benefits of moving to the cloud. So we want to talk about the different types of cloud, and perfectly because Ian asked for it.
Okay.
Ian says, I've heard of many different definitions of the public, private, and hybrid clouds. Could you break down each one and the differences between them each?
Okay. So basically, if you want to step way back, and I think you can look at a lot of the cloud in a whole bunch of different definitions, right?
Yep.
So I want to try to break it down to the basics of a cloud service is really anything that's on the internet that's outside of your building. So on the other side, so it's in a data center somewhere.
Remote service.
Right. Now, the term cloud has come to have a couple of expectations involved with cloud service. It's highly redundant. It automatically fails over.
Right.
It's
not a backup.
It's not a backup. It can be a backup,
but it's not a backup.
Right. So those kinds of things, get confusing, right? Because there's a lot of different things. There's N+1. There's redundancy N+1. There's geographic dispersion. There's continuity. There's disaster recovery. There's all of these different kinds of things that talk about. So when you talk about cloud services, you're talking about on the other side of, on the internet outside of your building is anything that's there as a cloud service. So can you repeat the question for me real quick?
The question, I can paraphrase it.
Yeah, paraphrase.
Ian basically wants to know, what is the difference between the private cloud, public cloud, and the hybrid cloud?
Hyper or?
Hybrid.
Hybrid, okay. So you can look at a public cloud as, and there's a bunch of different variations of a private cloud. Or I'm sorry, we'll start with public cloud.
Yes.
So public cloud, there's a bunch of different variations of a public cloud. The most common, right? Hosterian has a public cloud. You can go to Hosterian.com and buy a virtual server in our public cloud, and if a single server dies, your virtual server fails over to another physical device. There are some points of failure, but there's not many, and the single points of failure are highly redundant pieces of equipment. So
let's break that down, that redundancy part. Because I don't know.
Let's keep going for a minute.
Okay,
we'll go back and talk about redundancy later. But the most popular are Amazon, Azure, Google, and those are clouds. And then Google is probably the most common cloud service. Technically, your email is a cloud service, right? It's a service that's provided to you on the internet. That you don't have any physical equipment inside your facility to manage it. So Google Mail, Google Drive, those cloud storage.
Right.
All of these different cloud services. When we talk about cloud, we talk about cloud infrastructure, and because at Hosterian we really don't care about what they're doing on that infrastructure. So, public cloud, you can think of that Hosterian virtual servers, Amazon AWS,
there you go.
Microsoft Azure. You can even think about a public cloud as DigitalOcean servers, right? So you go to DigitalOcean, you buy a server, it spins it up, and you have it out there. You could think even as a cloud service, a public cloud service, Salesforce.com, Atera.com for project management. That's a cloud-based project management. Asana is a cloud-based project management software. So those are all public cloud things. Basically, if it's a website that has a service that you're using, it's a cloud service. If it's a company that you're going to and buying IT infrastructure, then it's a cloud server or cloud infrastructure service.
Got it.
Cloud as a service. Is cloud as a service a thing? I've not heard it, but I'm shocked that I haven't heard cloud as a service before.
I don't think I've
never heard that phrase, but
I'm not super deep into it as you are.
So that's the public cloud. And you got a private cloud, which is you can contract a company like Hosterian. I think the other two popular players, and just to put it all out there, would be SoftLayer and The Planet. Would probably be the two, and then
AWS.
No, Rackspace would be the other big one that you could deploy a private cloud in. A private cloud is you own or you can either own or lease the infrastructure, the physical servers, and the physical storage, the physical hardware, and you put your own hypervisors on it so you can spin up your own virtual servers inside this private cloud and deploy services for your business inside that private cloud.
Okay.
Benefits are that you don't have any restrictions. You can build your private cloud for your specific needs. You don't have a giant company looking at your data.
Security is available for you.
You have more control over your security things, and you're more portable, right? So you can pick your stuff up and move it into your own building if you wanted to, or put it in a data center, or buy co-location in another data center and move your workload over there. So it is and more portable is kind of this weird phrase because inside AWS, you're wildly portable inside AWS. But it's really hard to port a server from AWS to Azure or
Right.
AWS to somebody else. So,
And rightfully so, right?
I mean, they designed it that way, right?
Yeah.
They don't want you to hop around. There's no
They
federated
want you to
cloud
stay
yet.
here with us.
So that's one of the downfalls of the public clouds is that you can't hop from one public cloud to another public cloud very easy. But if you own your infrastructure, you know what hypervisor you use, you can build multiple private clouds in different data centers and move your workload around. So you just really have a significant amount more control over your IT and your workload on a private cloud. The negatives of a private cloud are that it's not as easy to scale. It's not very elastic. So if you needed to double your resources tomorrow, it's kind of hard to do. You got to buy the hardware, you got to acquire it, you got to get it in, bam. But most businesses know what their workload is, and they can accommodate for that. So then you talk about a hybrid cloud, which I believe is probably the holy grail of all clouds. Is you have a private cloud for your standardized workload.
Mm-hmm.
You put all of your resources there, but there are some redundancies that you don't want to pay for to have all this hardware sitting there not being used.
Mm-hmm.
So you can use the public clouds to kind of offset for your own redundancy. So you can have your data kind of copied over there. Because a public cloud is really affordable to use, affordable to have,
Right.
if you don't use the processing power. If you're just storing data there, you can store a decent amount of data and you can have servers readily available for really cheap if you're not using them. It's when you start using them that the costs go through the roof. So
Got it.
you get to make the decision if my private cloud is down, do I want to move my critical resources
To the public cloud.
to the public cloud? If you're going to do that, you have to have that all configured before a catastrophe. It can't be oh crap,
This broke.
my private cloud's down, I've got this issue, and oh, now I want to make the decision to go to hybrid. The hybrid has to be engineered. It is a hyperly complex situation, right? But we also have private clouds, like Hosterian has private clouds with customers that we geographically disperse them anyway. So if a data center's down, they're up in the other data center. So
That's
those
pretty
are things
awesome.
that are, it's more expensive to do it that way, but you pay a little bit more and you have all that capability. You have elasticity under normal workloads and you have an entire DR and continuity plan built in.
Which is
So-
pretty awesome because I mean,
Right.
I would assume, right, with having that kind of control over your security, most companies that do have a private cloud kind of want that.
Yeah, I mean it's a cost benefit kind of thing. Like
Like
we're
we do
St.
with
Louis
HIPAA and
data
stuff.
center. Yeah, we're St. Louis data center. We have 2 data centers in St. Louis. We have that for continuity's sake, but not everybody can afford it. Right? There's
Right.
some businesses, right, that if St. Louis were to blow up, they would be out of business, so they don't care. If St. Louis were to blow up, right? So
Like my business counts in that too, so.
yeah, so it's like a Katrina event would put them out of business if it happened in St. Louis.
Got it.
So, you know, it's an intimate decision that you need to make with your engineers and your business, and it has financial implications. It has uptime implications. You know, all those things need to be taken into account when you're doing that. And then, you know, we've been doing this long enough that we kind of know how much downtime a single server would have versus if you had 2 servers. If you had 2
Right.
servers in central storage and a RAID 10, you know, the mean time between failure is pretty well lined out. So,
Is that I mean, I would think that'd be pretty common with someone that sells these types of services though, right?
yeah.
Like,
I mean,
shouldn't they have that kind of awareness?
if you're selling these services,
Yeah.
yeah, but not every salesperson is, you know, willing to put everything up front right out of the gate.
They don't communicate it well.
Yeah, I mean, I know hosting companies right now that sell dedicated servers, and they don't really talk about the risk of putting your data on a single server. And they say, well, it's the customer's responsibility to know if they need backups or not. Not mine. And they're not
Man.
wrong, right?
Yeah, they're not wrong.
I mean, Today, you could go buy a server from Hosterian or Rackspace or Catabo or anybody, and if you don't buy backups and that single server dies,
That's on you.
it's on you. Now, that single server's up for 3 years and it doesn't die, fantastic. If you're still paying for it after 5 years and you haven't called your sales rep and say, hey, I need to upgrade my server, and it goes down,
Tight spot.
cars break down, servers break down, everything breaks down.
Everything has a lifespan.
Yeah, it happens. Now,
But people expect things to not have a lifespan.
the problem with computers is I can load 2 computers tomorrow, and one of them will run for 3 years and be destroyed. And the other one can run for 20.
Just like motors.
Yeah, it's crazy. I've got a
Right.
Jeep that has 213,000 miles on it and still runs great. And I got one with 8,000 miles, and it's got all kinds of problems. So, yeah, it's
That's just the nature of the beast, man.
right.
So that was kind of high level.
That was high level, public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud. And then there's all kinds of every variation.
Yes, this is
Between,
there's a
right?
bunch of different variations. And now that the fourth one's kind of coming in, I don't want to talk about it right now. I want to stay about the three.
Okay. Yep.
So how do we kind of break this down on super layman's terms so someone can like pretty easily listen to the next 30 seconds if you say, okay, this is what this one is, that one is, and break it down like that. Super easy.
Oh.
Like the bus?
On the 3?
Yeah. Would the transportation one work good for this?
Well, if we're talking about the 3, then that really only talks about 2, not the hybrid.
What would be a good-
And the bus versus a car doesn't really explain it that well either, unless you talk about all cars. So, let's talk about housing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So, a private cloud is a house. You can build a flat, you can build a split level, you can build a mansion.
There you go.
But it's a single property that you own, operate, or lease and operate, but you don't have any shared walls, right?
There you go.
A public cloud could be a little apartment or a deluxe apartment in the sky, right?
Could be a high rise.
It could be either one of those two things, but you share walls in a public cloud. A hybrid cloud is you have the best of both worlds. You have your private cloud, so you have your own house. That's where you live every day, but you also have an apartment at the lake, right? And if there's a problem with your house, you have an apartment at the lake that you can go to,
You can go vacay.
right?
I think that was great.
I think that's a
That
reasonable
was
way to
great.
do it, right?
That's what I want. That's
Yeah.
what I wanted right there. Because to me, when I start doing my research about like what the different types of clouds are, it gets sticky fast.
Right.
And I'm in this world, right? I'm in this world on a daily basis.
Well, and the problem is I think most of it, or there's a lot of marketing terms.
And then people, they put things that make you try to buy their product. They're not really educating you on what this really is and how it works.
Right.
Which,
Absolutely.
So that makes for the society, makes it harder for them to learn. They try to sell you and not educate you.
Yeah, I mean, I know, 20 years ago we started hearing the term cloud, right? And then what does that mean?
Yeah.
What does cloud mean? And I'm like, well, we've been doing cloud email services,
For years. Decades.
since 96, 97, right? With Pine. And then, what does that really mean? I mean, every website's a cloud website.
Right.
Every website on the planet's in the cloud.
It's not in your computer.
It's cloud
dude.
hosting, right? When it's not a cloud, is when you decide, hey, I'm not going to host in a data center or have a hosting provider. I'm going to buy IPs from my internet service provider. I'm going to put it in my phone
Right.
closet, and I'm going to tell people to come to me. It's still a cloud for your users. It's just not a cloud for you. It's inside your building.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
So everything is basically a cloud or a version of a cloud.
The entire internet's a cloud, right? I mean, literally, anytime you look at any kind of engineering designs, as soon as you leave the physical infrastructure on the other side of the router, when they talk about the internet, it goes to a cloud, right? So everything on the other side of your router technically is cloud,
Interesting. That's a really good way to put it.
right?
Because it's just funny. I mean, I can think about like movies I've watched where they're like, "What is the cloud? I don't know. No one understands the cloud." Right?
Yeah.
And as soon as it leaves your computer, you've entered the cloud.
I would take it a little further. Once you pass your router,
Oh.
or your modem,
Okay.
right? Because like now we have, people have Plex servers in their homes,
That's true.
Right? Well, if they download a movie into their Plex server and they're watching it on their TV, that's not a cloud service. That's a LAN service.
It wouldn't be a cloud server until he gives me a login.
Right. Now, if he said, hey, Brian, your house, you can log into my Plex server.
I'm on the cloud.
Now, you're connecting to that server over the cloud, but it's not a cloud for him. It's just on his LAN. And LAN is local area network.
See, that's funny. I bet a lot of people probably don't understand that part. Because they think that, well, for you it's a cloud, but for me, it's not.
Right. Yeah. So for me, when I'm standing inside our data center, that's not the cloud to me. It's our infrastructure. But everybody accessing
it's their cloud.
It's a cloud service. Right?
That's really interesting to put it that way.
So I guess it's all relative of where you're at.
Yeah. That's what it comes down to. That's really interesting.
Technically, am I explaining that right, Ron? Okay.
It's a relative where the cloud is at. Because if you're housing it, you're managing it, it's not a cloud to you.
Right. We say that we're providing a cloud service.
Yeah.
Right. But it's in our building.
Right. So it's not you're managing it, but you're not
right.
on the cloud.
Correct.
You are the cloud.
Right. In some cases, yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So Ian, I hope that answers your question. We're gonna keep this thing moving. Next question here is by Jonathan. And Jonathan, let me move my cursor. There we go. Jonathan says, what are the primary concerns or hurdles that you hear from businesses who are debating moving to the cloud? Also, are there any chance of losing any systems or processes during the move? Let's do one at a time.
Yes, there are. And what was the first part of that question again? I'm sorry.
What are the primary concerns and hurdles that you hear from businesses who are debating moving to the cloud?
Oh, I've heard a lot. The number one thing that I've heard is trust, right?
I can see that.
So I don't trust the cloud. It's been hacked before, or it goes down, or people read my data, all kinds of stuff, right? So that's the biggest hurdle that I've seen. I've had one client just say, my stuff doesn't run in the cloud. It just won't work in a cloud. Right? Which might be true. It very well be true. I know that I'm dealing, and I'm going to go way, way geek here just for a second. I'm dealing with a steel manufacturer in the United States that has raw steel shipped from China to the United States.
Got it.
Right? And they have this app that was built that's on the ships in the steel, on this like a barcode scanner.
Okay.
That's on the steel, like the raw steel.
Got it.
So that they can track the steel and where it's physically at, so they know when it's going to be here. This application was written in like the late 70s, early 80s, in an application called Cobalt, running on an old IBM server.
Jesus.
And we cannot figure out how to port it. Right? So for them to move to the cloud, we had to find a solution for that specific problem, because we cannot get that specific set of code ported over to modern technology.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
It just doesn't work. So is that a cloud portability issue? Yes. It's really more of an old ass code issue.
Yeah.
It's not compatible with anything
Right.
that's written today. But yeah, that application we've not figured out yet how to get it moved to the cloud.
Now,
right?
I can see
now,
that.
IBM has come out with something called like a mainframe hypervisor thing that we might be able to do it, but so far it's been out of their budget.
Got it. I mean, because the first thing that came to mind when you said that'd be like, in my eyes, I took it as, well, like a electric car versus a gas car.
Sometimes.
Right? I mean, it's just like technology has advanced to a point where they don't run the same.
Or, I mean, even simpler is, I don't know how to talk to somebody that only speaks Japanese.
So if they're coders, we're in a different
Cobalt,
part of the world.
Not a whole lot of people know that language anymore. Right?
Got it.
I mean, it's just not a
Popular
IBM Cobalt, right? You have to be on an IBM mainframe to run it.
That would be a huge concern.
That specific application, right? So
the trust comes with the cloud, or is the trust really with the provider?
I think it can be both.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, you got the guys that just say, "Hey, I don't like the cloud." So then the hyperclouds, right? I mean, the companies that are running the major hyperclouds
Okay.
are in the news, not doing the best kind of stuff, right? Like, and maybe it's false news or exaggerations and things like that. But you know, if I had a bunch of intellectual property that talked about my patents, I would never host that at GoDaddy. Never in a million years would I ever take that data and put it in GoDaddy servers.
Why?
Nor would I put it in Google servers.
Why is that?
I don't know that GoDaddy's reading my data, but I think they are. Right? Because so many times I've searched for a domain name and it was available, and then I go to buy it and it's not.
Yes.
So many times, right?
We've
So
had that happen a couple
I just
times.
don't have a whole lot of trust for GoDaddy, right? Because of that specifically. So why would I put my data there? And they chase to the bottom on price, right? So if they're the cheapest provider in the world, I mean, they're also one of the largest providers in the world, but how can they be good, right? I mean, it's mediocre. It's not a horrible service. I have a website that has 20 people going to it a month. Yeah,
Not a big deal.
I don't care, right? But if I'm running a business, yeah, I'm not hosting there. I'm definitely not putting my intellectual property there. Google straight up tells you they're going to read your data, right?
Doesn't AWS say that too?
I don't know about AWS, right? But Google straight up says, hey, we're going to read your data so that we can better serve ads to you. Like, it's in their terms and services.
Yeah.
And paraphrasing, obviously, but
Right.
I
remember.
they don't hide the fact that that computers are going to read your data, not them specifically, but
Right.
you know, where does that stop?
There's always a line, right?
Yeah,
Always a
and
line.
arbitrary lines get, they
Blurry
get gray
fast.
and, yeah. So,
Well, I know with the Alexa, when Alexa first came out, I remember like a couple employees that quit because they were like, we couldn't take hearing what we heard on some of the things.
right.
So
I mean, so is that an exaggerated story or a real story? I don't know.
Right.
So, but I hear these kinds of stories, and it kind of makes me wonder: do I want to put? I mean, I've had an idea since I was 11 years old. I've been working on it since I was 30. I really now have, $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 invested in getting patents. Do I want to put that data
in a
and
spot
those
where
drawings?
you know it's going to be read.
Do I want to give that to a company like Amazon that has been accused of stuff like they've been accused of with Alexa, even if they've done it or not?
Or even Google for that matter, where they say they're going to do it.
Right. I don't think I want to put that data there. I want to keep it, right? So, and then that goes for if I write software.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. If I'm writing software that does something, I've got my database scheme, I've got all my code, I've got, all of that intellectual property. I wouldn't put it in those big mega providers.
Interesting.
I just wouldn't.
Because
I don't believe they won't steal it from me.
So your number one is trust, right? And that trust could be with that provider.
Well, I think that's with everything in general, but yeah, trust is.
I know
a huge
you
one.
personally.
Yeah.
I know you personally, but so trust is the big one. What would be another huge concern or hurdle that a business would think about when it comes to moving over to a cloud service?
The public clouds, right? In general.
In general, yeah.
So with the mega providers, what I don't like about the mega providers is that I can't get a hold of a person that I know. Every single time I hit support, I'm going to get a different person. I start over from scratch every single time. That's why I don't like the big providers. And then the smaller providers like Hosterian, what is their track record? Have they, what is their uptime? Historically, a small local provider is going to have, I wouldn't call it significant, I would call it slightly more downtime than one of the mega providers. Right. But everybody has downtime. Amazon has downtime, Google has downtime.
Right.
Everybody at some point has something in their systems
Shit breaks.
that happens, right? There was a significant outage. When was that? When the BGP tables got all messed up? A couple months ago, somebody at a major provider made a bad mistake, and a lot of the world couldn't watch Netflix that night, and you couldn't get to Amazon from some places, and this stuff happens, right?
Right.
It does happen. The internet is way more fragile
than people think it is.
than most people even know,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's not hard to bring down a significant portion of the internet. the cool thing is that it's always recoverable, and I don't know that it's possible to bring down the entire internet. I mean, you have to have something
Pretty
to bring down all
powerful.
the power grids,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
because it's just a matter of who's connected to where, and do they have a good route or not.
And
but-
most of them do.
And in most places, there's multiple routes. But if you talk about a rural city,
That's
right,
different.
with that is 150 miles away from the closest city, and it's got 4,000 people, there's probably only one connection in and out of that town
yeah.
to get to the public internet. And if backhoe could bring it down, those 5,000 people could be down for a long time.
So we got trust.
Trust.
We got what were we just talking about?
I think it all comes back to trust.
That's still trust.
Yeah,
I thought
because
that's support.
if you're going to go from the cloud,
Support is what it was.
Yeah, support, trust, and support are the two big ones. And then what kind of support you're going to get?
So I would think maybe the third one could be something along the lines of like getting their team acclimated to using it, like the training
if you
and
don't have
onboarding
company,
for it, right?
if you don't have company engagement,
Like I would think
that's
that
a
would,
problem with anything. That's not just a problem with technology and cloud.
this is across the board though.
It's across the board. More with software, right? So getting company engagement in a CRM
Yes.
is challenging, right? Getting company engagement in CRM would be customer report management, right? CMS, customer management system.
Relationship management.
Relationship management, yeah. Or some kind of management software, right? Company engagement is wildly important there. Because if you don't have your employees engaging and accepting this new technology, it's going to fail.
Or writing tickets.
Writing tickets, yeah,
If you don't report that there was a problem and you had to fix it and you had to spend X amount of time on it,
correct.
right? That's
So
an issue.
yeah, if you don't get the company engagement, then you're in trouble right out of the
Okay.
gate. And that's
Those
true
are
for
top three then.
cloud. If you're deploying SAP, which is another whole gamut of stuff,
Right.
And processes and things like that, then yeah, that's an issue as
Well,
well.
it almost sounds like these things aren't really like pigeonholed to the cloud. It's just
Well, yeah,
business issues.
Right, and then I
really,
guess
right?
the other thing would be it's not broke. Why am I fixing it? why should I move?
Right. So,
Right.
what would be a good reason to even consider that? If
So
that was a
you-
concern,
So if you're moving to the cloud,
right?
I have to make the assumption that if that's what you're doing, then you currently have servers inside your closet or inside your building. You have a phone closet or a computer room inside your company or inside your business.
Mm-hmm.
So the best reason to move outside of there is you're probably spending more on your power than you think you are.
You're probably not maintaining it properly neither.
Probably not maintaining it properly.
Temperature and that kind of stuff.
Right. You probably so your mean time between failure could be reduced if you move it out of your closet because you could be properly cooling your equipment. So that would even be. I've always called this service co-location, where you put your servers in my data center, and that's it's half of what Hosterian does. It's half of our business.
Right.
Some people are calling it your servers in the cloud. Right. So that would be the difference is you take your servers and put them in the data center, and now they have UPS backup, they have generator, they have the proper air conditioning, and with the proper air conditioning, you can reduce your failures in your servers because your little plastic components aren't expanding and contracting when it gets hot and cold inside
You're
that room.
maintaining it.
Right. You're maintaining it properly. Another good reason is because you have 24 hours a day monitoring systems. You have people at the facility to do stuff. So if you have your computers in your phone closet at your office, you've probably all strolled in one morning at 8 o'clock and stuff be down. And you got to get it all booted back up. And then you've got, 20 employees twiddling their thumbs while one employee is late, comes in eating his Burger King, and he walks into the computer room and starts getting to work. And then everybody's just sitting around for 2 hours while he's in there getting the stuff back up.
And I've had that happen before at a job that I was working at. Had his servers in a closet. It went down. We were down for like 3 or 4 hours. I'm like, dude, I'm just gonna go home and work from home, man.
Yeah.
Because I was in insurance at the time frame, and I had a very strict. I was trying to hit a goal, to hit my sales target. That I want to go to this trip, and I'm like, dude, I'm sitting here for 4 or 5 hours. Like,
Right.
I could have made 2-3 sales by now.
Yeah.
Right. So I can see that being a lot of people that want that control. If they have a company where they need to house a lot of personal data like HIPAA or like, well, I guess credit card numbers can be considered HIPAA as well.
Right.
But in anything that's really vital and crucial, I can see them wanting to have their own. They're thinking that they are like protecting it and taking care of it, but in reality, they don't really know.
And then there's another issue of a hybrid cloud the other direction, where you have your local resources and then you have some resources in the data center.
Interesting.
Which would be the flip side of using a data center cloud and like a private cloud that you would purchase, and then some resources in a hyperscale cloud. You could also say, hey, you know what? It's really important for me to have. I live in a rural area and I don't have fast internet service, and I have 30 engineers that work on AutoCAD, right? Mm-hmm. I have to have my storage server local because it just takes too long to download the files and upload the files all the time, right? So that's a great example of having your server in-house because it makes sense, right? I'm never going to tell you move to the data center because it's the only solution in the planet. Sometimes having servers on your local area network is needed, right? Just because your internet speeds aren't fast enough. They're getting faster, they're getting better, but sometimes still, I mean, we still have people using 56K dial-up in this world, right?
Man,
so
that makes me want to throw up.
Right, it's real. The struggle is real. Man. So, you know, am I going to tell that person, hey, you need to pick that server up, move into the data center, and just deal with the the downloads? It's not the data center slow, but he's got a slow connection. So no, keep that there. But let's work on some services that can be in the cloud, right? And let's work on a cloud backup solution, a cloud DR solution. Because if your building burns down tomorrow, do you want to be out of business, or do you want to spin that server up somewhere and have your people access it from the cloud?
I mean, that's a real conversation right there.
Right. And then you could talk about virtual desktops in the cloud.
You want to be down a couple hours, or you want to be done?
Which then says, right, if you do virtual desktops in the cloud, then you say, hey, I've got my desktop, but to do my AutoCAD, I log into my virtual desktop because it has a direct LAN connection to the storage server.
And that'll increase your speed.
That particular kind of cloud, though, would be a GPU intensive cloud. So we would make that different. We would give it a cloud that had, which is not always common, right? Most businesses don't need a lot of graphics processing, right? They need a lot of processing power to give me all my customers that have X, Y, and Z variables, or give me all my customers that have birthdays today, or those kinds of queries are what's ran. It's not very graphical interface. So AutoCAD drawings need graphics cards to make them run well. So
engineers, architects.
Right, and graphics cards run hot.
Yes.
So they're not, the greatest things in the world to be in the data center for those reasons, but we've come a long way with the data centers, and we can handle those GPUs now inside the data center. So there's a couple of different scenarios on how to do that. And I'm sorry I missed the
second part of the question.
The part of the hybrid cloud can also be part in your facility, part in another private cloud, or part in a public cloud as well.
Did not know that.
Which is in the other direction.
I didn't think about it in the other direction.
Yeah.
I only thought about it one direction. Why you want to do it?
The only time I really think about it the other direction was when you're high graphics use.
Oh, very niche
or you're dealing with high graphics use, or you're dealing with very large files. Right, we've got a customer that's right across the street that makes videos nonstop.
I was gonna say that's the first thing I thought about was videos.
He makes so many videos. He's like, dude, I always have to have storage here. It just takes too long to get it over the internet, right? And now when you're talking about 4K video and 8K video, those are freaking huge, man.
I mean, I would think like news broadcasters, right?
Right.
They shoot 4K.
Storing those files in the cloud maybe long term is okay, but streaming them back and forth for editing and stuff, it's just not feasible.
Got it.
Right, so cloud's not for everybody, not for every situation. It does solve 80% of the world's problems, though.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. Go back to 80-20 rule, right? 80-20 rule.
So, but you got those exceptions, and we can make hybrids for those exceptions.
That's what it comes down to. It sounds like there's really not that the cloud is for everyone. It's just really what's the solution that works for you. Is what you need to focus on.
And I feel like a lot of companies don't do that, right? They say, this is our solution, and you need to fit to it.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
And-
not the way it works.
And that's not the way we do it, at least. And maybe we should, but I definitely like taking the approach of, hey, what are you doing? What's going on in your world? And let's create the best solution for your company and your business, right?
Right.
And that might be, and if it ends up being a couple servers in your office, then so be it, right?
I mean, I just call it being innovative. That's how a lot of the things have happened in this world. Is that they didn't say, no, you're going to fix that to me. Like, no, what can make this better?
Right.
And then you go with that. If it works,
Yes.
it works. Period.
Absolutely.
Right?
So that to me, hybrid is long term the only real solution, right?
It sounds pretty legit.
I mean, I've never found a box that fit everything I wanted to put in it. Especially when you're running a business, you got all kinds of different things going on, right?
Yeah.
So.
And then different hurdles that pop up and.
Right. So, like,
You never know what you
a great example of a hybrid system that we use at Hosterian, we use a phone system called Asterix, and it's our phone PBX, and it's a cloud-based system. But I don't trust that by itself, because if I have an issue, Hosterian's having an issue, we need our customers to be able to call us.
Right.
And we host our phone system. So our phone system fails over to a Google phone system. Right? So if our phone system's
Nice.
down, we fail over to a Google phone system, and then that becomes our new phone system, and then our staff grabs their cell phones, and we have it all directed to the cell phones. So
Business keeps
it's a
rolling.
hybrid solution, right? And it gives you the best of both worlds. I have a wildly affordable phone system,
And you got DR.
and I have a continuity plan. If it's gone,
Continuity and
the
DR.
whole phone system could die, and I fail over to my Google phones.
That's nice, man.
So I'm using my hyper cloud, or my public cloud, and I would call Google's Google Fi a public phone system, a public cloud, a publicly hosted phone system, as my failover, and it works great.
That's clutch.
Yeah.
That's clutch, man. Oh my goodness gracious, we are so deep into this conversation that I realized that. I did not. Am I becoming a geek?
I think so. If you're enjoying it, then you're being.
I am enjoying
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So I want to take this moment here to talk about but not between the cubicles. This week in tech history.
This week in Tech History is brought to you by My Team Fitness. 10-minute workouts every single day, delivered to your inbox. And if you use the coupon code Clicks and Bricks, I don't think it's called coupon code, it's called offer code.
I'm not sure what it's
I'm
called.
not sure what it's called.
It's a
Clicks and
code.
Bricks, you get 75% off your monthly recurring. You get that every single month.
Yeah, there you go. Check it out, guys. It's really nice, really nice playing. All right, so March 31st, 1880.
Wow.
Let there be light. Wabash, Indiana, becomes the first city in the world to become completely illuminated by electric lighting.
So it's the first power grid in the world or in this country?
It says in the world here.
The first city in the world, Wabash.
Wabash, Indiana, the first city in the world to be completely
Indiana.
illuminated by electric lighting.
So I guess every house in the whole place had electric lighting then.
Right.
That was
1880.
1880. All right.
The entire.
So that's awesome.
Yeah.
1880.
That's
so
today.
so
Oh, no,
141 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
The whole city.
The whole city.
Yeah.
So have you ever been in a house that was pre-electric?
Yes.
Yeah. How long ago has that been?
I don't go in there very often.
You still have it? Is it still around?
Yeah, it's Emily. My wife's family. They grew up on a
Right.
farm. They've had for like 200 years.
Right.
And not very much in there it works.
Okay. But is it the house they live in?
No.
No.
Like
so
her
it's
dad lived in that, and then her dad's dad lived in that, and they have a house there, but that's just on the farm.
So it's still on the farm. Their house from 200 years ago is still on the farm.
It's still on the farm.
Wow. So I've not been in a house that's been pre-electric since probably about 25 years ago.
Man, it's
So
a
I was
different
probably
experience.
20 years old.
Different experience.
But I grew up in a house. I didn't grow up in a house, but my great-grandmother
lived in a house like that.
lived in a house that was pre-electric, and she had lanterns, no indoor plumbing, like it's literally outhouse in the winter. There was a little closet in the back that had a hole in the floor.
They have a well.
Yeah.
For the running water.
So I mean, I'm old enough to have at least experienced a home that did not ever have electric in it.
Man, it's an eye-opening thing, man.
Yeah.
Everything in the house is like, for one, it's small.
Yeah.
Like the ceilings are, and I'm not a tall guy, but I feel like a giant in that house. Like,
Yeah.
Going up the steps, I'm like, Jesus Christ, I feel like I'm going directly up in the steps. I'm
Right.
like, I'm literally climbing to go in these steps. It's a completely different world.
Yeah.
Houses came a long way.
And cities, right? So, I guess I don't know enough about the electric grids to know who really laid those cables. I know that Ma Bell came along and did a lot of the infrastructure, Southwestern Bell and all those companies did a lot of the nationwide infrastructure. I don't know enough about the power grids. I know that St. Louis has Ameren. I know there's 3 major power grids in the U.S., Texas and the Eastern Coast, West Coast.
Like you say, Texas.
Yeah. Texas got theirs, then we got the East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
But I don't know
all I
enough
know
about
about
the
it.
power grids, especially out there. Does it say what company deployed that?
It did not say what company deployed that.
I'm assuming back then it was probably multiple companies fighting for customers.
I mean, I would assume they would have had to kind of have some kind of. There wasn't a monopoly at that time frame.
But it's hard to do, right? Because this is literally running cables to every house back to a coal plant.
It had to be a joint, like a partnership, to make that happen. It's what I would have to think about.
Neighborhood co-ops and things like that, probably, right?
Yeah.
But Indiana, they did what a lot of people are trying to do here in St. Louis and combine their cities and counties into one just big metropolis. So it's a fairly innovative town for what most people the middle.
The Midwest is not known for being innovative.
Right, but Indiana is they've got some pretty cool stuff. So good
That's
job,
awesome.
Indiana. Yeah.
Shout out to Indiana. Good go. Good go at it.
Yeah.
All right.
Which means that they probably have really bad infrastructure today.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
It probably has been touched.
And in
a
St.
long
Louis,
time.
we know that because we're an old town too.
We run across our things every once
And
in
we
a while.
have some stuff. We got some really cool cultures, Soulard, Dogtown, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But there's still a lot of places that have really narrow streets and cobblestone and things like that, right? So the infrastructure is less than to be desired in some cases. So I hope they don't have those issues. I hope they've tried to keep it up to date over the years.
Is there anything like St. Louis? They're having issues. That's why we flood all the time, right?
Yeah, it's part of it.
It's part of it. It's
Yeah.
nature of the beast.
Awesome.
All right. So we have time for one more question.
Awesome.
Okay. And this question is from Amelia. And Amelia says, I recently read a stat that stated 94% of businesses are now using the cloud, and that 72% of the businesses are using a private cloud. Do you think that number of the private cloud users will continue to grow into the future? Or will the public cloud make a comeback?
I don't know how to think about those numbers.
I want to know where the numbers came from.
Right.
That seems very high to me.
So, yeah, I think if you want to say 90-something%?
94%.
Right. 94% use the cloud. They're not saying that 94% of companies use the cloud exclusively.
It's a version of it. Like, it could be email. Could
Right.
be
They're
phone,
probably using, I would agree that if you're in business today, you're using a cloud service.
in some way, shape,
In
form,
some way or shape or form. And if you're not, I don't know how you're doing business
fashion.
in today's world, right? You
taking
could
cash on the
argue
table?
today that dial tone is now a cloud service, right? All the dial tone, not all the dial tone. If you call somebody in the same LEC, you're not hitting IP, are you? Right. So there's some providers still that are going to be COs are called central offices.
Okay.
They're the local presence where the phone switching is.
Got it.
Right. So it might
I
be
thought that was dead, dude.
if I'm calling my neighbor, I might not actually hit an IP and go over
'Cause
what's
it's so
called
close.
SIP because it's so close and it might be just locally switched, right? It doesn't actually hit the internet. But most phone providers today have switched over completely to a technology called SIP or VoIP, voice over IP. And so if you're using a phone number today, chances are it's a cloud phone number or cloud service, right?
I mean, my phone asked me, in case the reception's bad, do you want to, talk on the internet? And I was like,
Right.
Of course I do.
Yes. And that's the Wi-Fi calling. That's connecting from there to the Wi-Fi. And the reason they can do that is because switching telephone services in a central office is expensive and
Interesting.
and challenging, right? So we used to have a Class 5 Nortel switch. It was 4,500 square feet.
Oh, man.
Right? One switch. They could do, I think we scoped it for 10% of St. Louis, 6 million people, so 600,000 users is what it was scoped out for.
Woo.
Right? And it was 4,500 square feet. I can do that number of calls today in 9 square feet.
How long ago was that?
2000.
Oh, so just 20
years
years.
ago. 20 years ago.
That's not that long ago,
Right.
man.
Yeah.
That's
because
huge.
if you think about the, and I think most people know this now, E911, right?
Oh, yeah.
Pre-E911, there was no E911, so everything had to go through a public switch at some point so that they can know where your call is originating from. Now we have E911, you enter your details, they know where you're at, right? Because now they can tie your phone number to your GPS and they can find you if you're calling from a cell phone, but that's pretty new stuff, right?
Interesting. Well, that's how they found you in New York.
They definitely found it. I don't know how that happened. When I had to, the last time I called 911, I was in New York City. I had shut down the highway on accident, and I called 911, and instantly my phone popped up and said, "Emergency services locating you now."
Oh man!
Right, so
That's
they had that
creepy,
tied
dude.
in, man. And I was on the phone with the officer in a couple of minutes, and he's like, "What bridge are you at?" And I told him, I said, "I don't know, I'm on George Washington Boulevard." And he goes, "Oh, you're that guy at the U-Haul." And I'm like, yeah. So, I mean, those kinds of services. So, I mean, that was all cloud, right?
I mean, that's scary and good at the same time.
So, like,
you know?
how does a city run today? They run on cloud services, right? Especially a city like New York. And that was all, within a matter of a couple of minutes.
So
That they
fast.
were able to, I called 911, and they were able to see me on a camera in a couple of minutes.
Man,
That's creepy.
super creepy.
Yeah.
Dude. Super
Yeah.
creepy.
But that's all the power of the cloud, right? Because I was on a cloud-based phone, Google was able to send them my E911 info really quickly because I use Google Fi phone
Well,
service.
they say they're going to look at your stuff.
Right. And they knew
look at your
exactly
they
where
look at
I
your
was.
location.
And I have, I have location services turned off on my phone. Specifically turned off. I mean, I'm a Faraday cage guy. I have very little trust in anybody or anything. And man, they turned the location services on without, and I had no choice. It was a pop-up that I could not edit. I could not close
man.
it. If I have a 911 called, it was there.
I'm very surprised. Have you had a conversation with Google Fi about that? I said no to this, and you did it anyway.
They said it was enabling. Like it was, you've called 911.
They notified you.
We're enabling it.
But if you turned it off,
I don't know.
I feel like
I don't
that's
know.
right?
I think I asked for a public service that required GPS tracking. I could have not called 911 and just tried to deal with it on my own.
I don't think you really wanted that, though.
I mean, I made the choice to call 911, so I made the choice to be tracked, I think.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's a slippery slope right there, dude.
I needed somebody. I needed help.
You know.
At that point in time, I didn't care how I got it. I was happy to get it. It did take them 2 hours to get to me, though.
Took you 2 minutes to find you, 2 hours to get to you.
Well, to be fair, I didn't stop traffic at 5:30 on a Friday night on a highway in New York City. So it happens.
Oh my God, man, that's so funny to me, dude.
Yeah.
It really is.
So just FYI, if you're in a truck that's over 8 feet tall, you are not allowed to be on any parkway in New York. No
Stay
parkways
off
in New
them.
York. Stay off of them. You get on a parkway, get off, because you're going to hit a bridge.
That's
I
kids' tip of the
promise.
day.
Tip of the day. Stay away from parkways and big trucks in New York. But the only app that I could find to get rid of it was, I think it was called Trucker Trail. Was the app that
Got
has
my eyes watering.
Google. If you want to start a business, measure all the bridges in the country and sell that information to Google, because Google does not have bridge height in Google Maps. It is not a filter that exists.
And then just give Hosterian a shout out.
Yeah, absolutely. Have that idea for free.
Right.
Whoever wants it.
We will host your website.
Yes.
Awesome. So that wraps up our time here today. Thank you guys all for listening. If you're listening to this on any one of the 8 platforms we're streaming on, or 9 platforms now with Twitch too,
Right.
make sure you hit subscribe. Hit that.
Well, we're live
red
on
button.
Twitch, right?
Yeah.
Can they also watch us on Twitch later? Awesome.
Yeah.
Shout out to Twitch. Thanks.
Thank you,
We're happy
Twitch.
to have you a part of the family.
Absolutely. So make sure you subscribe, you rate us, give us all the stars, okay? And if you have any questions that you want us to go over, another topic you want us to hit and dive into, text my line at 314-216-2040.
If you just want to be part of my community, feel free to send me a text message at 314-370-2871. Our emails and other contact information will be up on the screen.
There you go.
Awesome. Thank you. Get to work.
And make it count.